August 8th. Y'all, it's August 8th.
All day.
Dropping stuff. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, just good.
Great.
Like going great. Who's a great? Just got Rashika's got a great. I love a great. So somebody said to me yesterday, as a matter of fact, in a meeting, they were like, oh, just the cold calling and the calling, and like it's just a different time right now. And I'm like, if you ever get up in the morning and the first thing you think is, oh, I don't want to call anybody today. Well, you're thinking about it all wrong. I want you to call 5 people as a gratitude call, because they will put you in the right mindset of being thankful for what you have and what the possibilities are and opportunities, and make those 5 gratitude calls. And then the rest of the calls will go amazing. I challenge you all to try that. And Keith is raising his hand. Yes.
No, I just want to share something. I had an open house over the weekend and there's people out there. We had 38 couples come through the property over the weekend. So they're there. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah, don't get discouraged. It's out there. But people say, oh, it's so slow. I'm like, how many calls did you make today? They're like, well, I'm like, no, go make some calls. Yeah, go knock on some doors, go communicate, talk to your database. Who are you talking to? Are you meeting new people? So just don't get discouraged. Put yourself out there, communicate with intention, be purposeful. And if you're having a rough day, we all have rough days, make your 5 gratitude calls, because I promise you, those will put you in the right mindset to make it an extremely productive day. So you guys got this. Bucket fills. Who would like to share something great that's happened since last time we all saw each other? Anybody? Seriously. Thank you. I'm like, I don't even have kids, and I know that y'all are glad, because the people are much happier right now that their kids are back in school and not having to work from home every day. We've got a new face in the room. I don't know who that is back there. Yes.
Oh, I've been here for a little while, but I haven't been over the summer. So.
Okay. Up there. It's so nice to meet you. Who are you?
Deanna Orza.
Deanna Orza. So everybody doesn't know, because I get a lot of new faces in here, and I was like, I don't think everybody knows who that is right there. I'm like, who's in the back?
It's not your first time.
Yes. It's first time for me, so nice to
What's your
meet
name?
you. Yeah, I'll call anybody else, so it's all good. All right, Miss Tiffany McWhorter. She is already in here. Hot all the dress. Come on up.
Good morning. Quick today, just 2 things. One, if you were going to Mega Camp, remember our party is Monday night at Cafe Blue. It's an oyster bar. Yes, 7 p.m. We would love to see you guys, and I will not be here next Tuesday, so I will miss you because I will be on a flight back from Boston from the party. So that is it for that. But I just want to remind you guys, if you are using DAs, which most of you guys do, remember to check to make sure that if you're holding earnest money and the earnest money is more than what you're getting, that you bring the check. So a lot of times, like, they'll put notes on there that's, Keller Williams is getting this much, you're getting this much, and they'll put a note to deduct the $2,000 earnest money from Keller Williams portion. But if Keller Williams isn't getting that much, then we do have to have the physical check. Same thing, we've seen lots of high earnest monies lately. If the earnest money is higher than your commission, we have to have the check. So just be mindful of that when you're going to, to closing date, because I hate for people's checks to get held up, because that's why we're all here to pay, right? And so just be mindful of that if you are doing DAs, or if you have really heavy earnest monies, to make sure that you're bringing the checks to closing if we need them. Will save us from sitting there trying to hunt down MCAs and all that. Does anybody have a question about that?
Just a shout out reminder that they have offices all over. I just closed in Hiram and
Yesterday, right?
it was awesome. So yeah.
Were you with Marissa?
Yeah.
She's one of my.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, she did wonderfully. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. All right. You guys let me know if you need anything.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiffany. Kelly's gonna go last. Tiffany, or not Tiffany, Joy and Tim, if you guys want to come up, Guarantee Mortgage. Come on up.
So back to the basics, right, with calling us. I mean, that's what we do, right? We're all sales, so we're gonna call all you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We made this pack, we're gonna call everybody.
Love it.
Gratitude calls.
Gratitude calls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I wanted to mention that something an agent asked me about was, did we do renovation loans? And the answer is we do, but we were thinking, or I was thinking at least, that's not a good time for those, because rates are high and who wants to renovate when rates are high. Except if you're a buyer and you're being priced out of your market because the values have gone up, your affordability is not there, but you can buy that one that needs, as they say, TLC, or needs a little bit of love and attention. You spend $50,000 on hardwoods, upgrade maybe the appliances, bathroom, kitchen, and if you think about it, so let's say the rate's 6.75. Unless you have the additional available cash, then you're probably going to pay for credit cards or other means. And this gives you that ability to have it when you move in. It's essentially, it's going to get done the first couple of weeks that you're in the house. So you end up having, ostensibly a newer house. So that you now have something that maybe you would have not bought that house if you didn't think about the fact that I can move myself to a nicer home within, a few weeks. So something to think about. And if you have interest in renovation loans, certainly give us a call. And
We just started doing them in the spring, so it's kind of new, but we have some great products.
well, the other thing is renovation interest rates are usually higher than regular mortgage rates. They aren't right now.
Right.
They're basically keeping them at the same rate as a standard 30-year fixed, intentionally, I think, because they realize that it's going to price itself out of the market. So
I think we're gonna try to go to class next month, so. stay
yeah,
tuned on that.
right. So
Is it an FHA product or?
Yeah.
both FHA and conventional.
Okay, so it is both, okay.
Yes. Even
Even
BA.
BA.
It is it's subject to, the renovations?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, if you did that, I mean, not to get into the weeds, but basically when you're doing a renovation loan, they want to know what it's going to be worth after everything's
Sure.
done. And I'm sure the value you create with what you do is going to be more than you probably spend, is my guess, just based on how much difference there is between really upgraded houses and ones that are in real tough shape. So anyway, so that's something that you might want to consider, especially for clients that are getting frustrated because they can't find a house at their price point because there aren't any houses at the price point.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yes,
That would
no,
be
no
safe.
investment. It's owner occupied only. Yeah, for the rent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You guys do DSCR loans?
we do.
Yes.
Okay.
We do. We have a lot of products. That's what I was saying. Y'all make sure you open your emails because we're trying to, I know every month the office sends out a mortgage minute. Open those because we're trying to advertise a lot of products. Because right now people need so many different things. We have a lot of investment products. We have the one she's talking about, the DSCR. It's debt service coverage ratio. So, and we've had classes on this stuff. So y'all come because we're trying to pour this information out for things that you guys need, okay? Or more non-traditional things.
You know what RDR is?
I know what.
RDR. Don't read.
That's why I'm encouraging you.
But yes. I'm gonna read
Yeah.
that email.
And when we call you guys, we can talk about this.
Yeah, and I want to add one thing. Another crucial part right now for you guys is use your leverage.
Yes.
It's right here. It's in our office. It is free advice. Literally, they are here every single day. Use your leverage. That, you
mortgage
know.
advice only. We don't.
Yeah, but that's a person, and it's not, I mean, they are here for you all and wherever that leads is great, but just use them for information and support for your clients and ask questions and all the things.
It's
That's
just if you have questions in general, like
right.
about
Just
land,
a
about
question.
whatever it
Yeah.
is, call us. We don't have it or we can't do it. I want to guide you. I know.
Yeah.
I know Bob's talking about construction today, new construction. It's so exciting, but we can help you with those things too, not necessarily like a CMP, but I've been involved with new construction for a very long time, so know a lot about it. I know we were talking about new construction this morning in the Q&A, the open office hours. We were talking about how that's hot right now, obviously, right? New construction. I'm seeing a lot of townhomes now, a lot of different products, but we have the experience. We can help you through that. Even if we're not the preferred lender, I know a lot about it. There are a lot of incentives out there. I know that's why people are gravitating towards new construction. And in the class today at 12:30, we're going to talk about buy downs. That's a huge incentive builders are offering. I'm going to talk about that. So just anyway, we're a lot
To offer.
wealth of knowledge. today.
Yep.
So,
Awesome.
Y'all come back at 12:30 after Bob's class.
Thank you. On here. All right, Kelly, come on up. Kelly went last today because Kelly is also our lunch sponsor. And she was just gonna like knock it out of the park all at one time. So
Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody.
good morning.
Kelly Lakenda with 210 Home Buyers Warranty, your home warranty partner and resource. So I have a bottle of wine. Y'all know the drill. I'm gonna ask a question. You have to wait till I ask the question to raise your hand. There are no shout outs. You get to pick the lucky winner.
Oh, God.
Y'all, it's a true or false.
The true or false?
So you have 50-50. So true or false? The 210 Home Buyers Warranty, you can actually purchase up to 3 years.
Leave that note. Keith.
True.
Good job.
Yeah.
The reason why I wanted to bring this to your attention is because the first year, this is your realtor product. And so if you guys are ever representing a buyer or a seller, please do not tell them to just go to the website. Either tell them to come to me. You can email me with them on the email, CCing them, and just say, hey, Kelly, meet my sellers. Hey, Kelly, meet my buyers, because I will respond all with all the information regarding the realtor product. So this is like pretty much an introductory into 210 Home Buyers Warranty. This is the best coverage because they're getting represented by you. If they do go onto our website, they're going to see our direct to consumer product, which is not in a transaction. And so it's completely different coverage. This is the best coverage that they are going to get. And so when they do go on to a renewal, just say they only have a 1 year and they do renew and they do want to renew with us, they actually go on to a renewal product. So they are kind of losing some of this coverage. And so that's why I wanted to let you guys know that you can purchase up to 2 years or 3 years. We don't go over 3 years because of government mandates with the HVAC systems and the water heaters. We want to make sure that they're completely protected. The cool thing about us compared to a lot of warranty companies, if you wanted to do 2 years, you would just double whichever plan price that you want. For 3 years, you would just triple. We do not tag on renewal costs to them, and they will stay on the realtor product for however many years that they purchase. And so I just wanted to bring that up. If there's ever money left over on the table and don't know what to do, get the second year for them. Also, don't forget all the awesome benefits that we do have to offer with the purchase of a home warranty. You know, for your buyers, we do give up to $100 after closing to go get, you know, have somebody come out to redo all their locks, or they can buy all new hardware. They just have to upload that paid receipt to their homeowner portal 45 days from the closing date, and we will mail them a check up to $100. If your buyer is active military veteran, please let me know. We can give a discount off whichever plan that they choose. And we also do have an appliance purchase program to where if they did not want to wait for that older appliance to fail, they can actually go shopping on our discount through GE and Whirlpool. It's an amazing discount that they can just go shopping. Also, don't forget, if the seller is not willing to purchase a home warranty, still make sure that you're presenting it to the buyers. We do offer payment plans to make it much easier. And number one, we are well known for HVAC coverage. We have the best HVAC coverage compared to a lot of our competitors. For the buyer's coverage, not seller's coverage, but for the buyer coverage, we have no limit on eligible parts and the equipment. And then drum roll, the number one reason is if you love Miss Joy back there with guarantee. If you do work with Miss Joy back there, she will purchase your buyers a 1 year warranty or simple plan up to $499. So take advantage of that because we're only doing this for 3 months. So I thought that was pretty cool to do. And also know that your buyers, they do have 30 days from the closing date to upgrade. So they can always upgrade to the Supreme plan. But you guys know I do come along with my package. I love to not only educate you guys, but I love to educate your clients as well. It's so important that your clients understand the warranty, especially the expectations of a home warranty, because that's one thing I always like to bring up is expectations. I do let your clients know we're not an emergency service. We are more of a risk management tool to help offset high out-of-pocket costs. So with warranty companies, there is a process. It does take a little longer compared to calling somebody to come out to replace that HVAC right there at that day. But there is a little process. It could take a little longer, not much. Doesn't mean we don't care, but we are truly saving them thousands of dollars out of pocket. Just last week, I had 3 different HVACs. 2 were covered under 210. One had our standard coverage. They got a full system replacement. They're about $800 out of pocket with our standard coverage. But with our Supreme coverage, the best coverage, they were only $150 out of pocket for a brand new system replacement. But I want you guys to know, warranty or no home warranty, I still want to be your resource. I want to be your person. You guys can call me anytime. If you ever have questions, even if there's no warranty involved, if you need a good contractor, let me know, because that last one, I had an agent that called me saying, I love you. I don't have warranty with you, but my HVAC system has to be completely replaced. I called my guy that comes out, they service it every, couple of times a year. He's quoting me $12,565 for a brand new system replacement. I had my guy out the very next day and completely replaced that system for $6,000. So half of what she was quoted. So use me as that resource. I can help you guys out. Love you very much. Thank you.
We love you.
Go online and enroll the house, is that still good?
Yeah, you can go online. You can call me, text me, email me, whichever is easy.
I just didn't want, I wanted to make sure that was still the right
Yeah,
process.
An option, yeah. All right, thanks. Our vendors are here. Please stand up and say hello. Don't be shy.
Ryan, Georgia Pro Inspection Company. We're here for all your home inspection needs, infrared thermal imaging, radon testing. Make sure you guys call me, text me, FaceTime me if you're working with clients and if you guys have any questions.
Brian Brown, CertaPro Painters of Northeast Georgia. So those repairs you need before painting, interior, exterior painting.
Awesome.
Sammy Baker, Contractors Best Solution Do will let you know. Ask for your letters online. It's very easy that way. Get it the next morning. You're in good shape, so you don't have to stay on the phone all that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. August calendar, do's and don'ts in real estate, photos and videos, local flavor. That is next Tuesday for team meeting. August 17th, leveraging the market tools. And then Sue Marmon is doing the class on the 21st. P&L. Regina, I think everybody here probably knows Regina. She'll be here on the 22nd. Brandon and the tech committee are doing a workshop on the 23rd. And then license law class is the 24th. That's a Zoom only. And then lead gen with Josh is every Wednesday from 12 to 1. Demetria, she in here, by the way. Creating smart plans, 14th, 21st, and 30th. These are all on the calendar as well. Tech training with Stuart. Demetria and Stuart are also doing. They do every Friday, 10 to 11. They do in person if you want to come here and on Zoom. Then the mortgage training, the 8th, which is today at 12:30 that Joy talked about. And then the 22nd at 12:30, loan challenges and how to save your deal. Career day, Saturday, August 19th, and then Tuesday, the 22nd. Please share if you have anybody that you would like us to call and invite. We are happy to do that. So let us know. Back to school contest. I think we've had one agent that has sent us 4 referrals to date. So waiting. So for our contest, so don't forget about the contest, August 1st to 31st, the back to school, $100 off your office bill for every agent that joins. Golf, Clark, who's invited? Everybody. Everybody's invited. Chelsea, you want to share a little bit about what's going on?
Yes, sign up if you haven't already. It's going to be a lot of fun. We do still have some sponsorship options if you're interested. It's a great way to build relationships with agents and all that kind of stuff. So let me know if you're interested. We'd love to have you. It's gonna be fun. So make sure you sign up.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. Ignite starts September 6th. For those of you that are brand new agents that need your 25-hour post license credit hours, we offer that here in the Market Center, and it starts September 6th. So please make sure to sign up for that. And there's sign up QR codes all around the office. Holiday Gala, don't forget your early bird tickets. $49 up to the end of this month. Also up to the end of this month, you can apply it to your office bill. After that, it is you have to pay more and you can't add it to your office bill. So make sure you guys do that. Susanna's taking care of all that for everybody. The one and the only Bob Hartwell is doing a new construction class today for us. This is the class that as he says, could be a 6-hour class.
Yeah, we're gonna do it in like
He's
40
condensed
minutes.
it, yeah, down to 40 minutes.
Put your ears on it.
Yeah, but we can do a part
Yeah.
2 and a part 3. We'll start adding on to this because new construction is become so relevant right now. So we're gonna kick it off today.
And we have it on there. Yes, very good.
You get the one.
All right.
Go for it.
All right, so some of you have seen this before. Some of you have not. If you have not, I'll apologize now to you. It's a super fast version of a class that we've done a number of times. It's a 3-hour CE and we do it on site. This is the video version and you don't have to wear hard hats. So, and you get to stay in the air conditioning too. So I'm gonna move this pretty quick. One of the, there's a couple things I want you to know about here. You know, catch all that. One of the things I want you to know about is working with on-site people. This is another thing that we want to talk about sometimes. I'll just say a very quick thing about on-site people. On-site people do not just sit there and wait for business to happen. They work their butts off. If anybody been on site before besides me? Have you, I mean, worked on site? Maybe nobody? Wow. Okay, that's surprising. On-site folks work a lot of late hours. They work every weekend. They got to manage you. They got to manage the superintendent. They have to manage the buyers. So just my point with all this is give them the respect they're due. Expect respect back. I'm not saying you should just give it up to them, but know that those people on site know their product. They know their subdivision. They know the procedures much better than you do. Stay involved, but just know that these people are there for the same reasons you are. They want to sell a house. You want your buyer to be happy. They want your buyer to be happy. You do every now and then come across one that's a little bit of a prima donna. Manage that. Know that during the process, especially if it's a build job, if you're starting from scratch and building a house, there will be stress on the buyer's part, always. I used to sit there and when we did a contract, I would say, we get the contract done, they knew which house they wanted to buy, they knew which lot they were gonna be on. And then I would sit them down and say, okay, it's time for counseling. Because inevitably, even if things went well, somebody would get stressed out and freak out. And I'm the on-site guy, so I had to manage that, okay? So my point with that is, know that they are there to help you in 90% of the cases. Know that you're going to use their contract and just manage that with them, okay? Stay engaged, create the relationship, and don't get too stressed out about it. Just know that those people are there for the same reasons you are. This is part of the class that we do that's kind of a longer thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you from soup to nuts in terms of how to build a house. I'm not going to go into codes, and those guys back there could probably, especially Ryan, can tell you more about codes. And the reason I don't want to get into codes is because we could get down a rabbit hole with that. And counties are different. Is that a fair statement? The city, every county. What's that? Yeah, cities and counties. Yeah, I mean, if you get into, you know, Jefferson might have one, Jackson County might have one, and they might be completely different than what Gwinnett County does. Okay, so most of the time there's some consistency, but just understand that there will be some nuances and some minor differences in the codes. Okay, so I'm gonna do a Q&A from me to you right now. Tell me the difference between a detention pond and a retention pond.
Water.
Essentially, yes.
Whether
Tell
it
me-
holds water or whether it empties.
And which one hold water?
Retention.
Retention. Okay. So typically, when you see a retention pond, that's a pond in the middle of a neighborhood. It's usually the lowest point because if you pour a glass of water on the ground, what's it going to do? Follow gravity. So the lowest point in the subdivision, if it's a retention pond, is typically a neighborhood pond. You might have a lake in the back, but
But a detention pond is typically, you'll see it, it's usually dry. It's exactly right. It's dry most of the time. When it rains, a little water accumulates and then there's a drain weir that goes out and it dries up. Okay, does that make sense to you? So if you go into a subdivision and now some of this is just going to be the terminology for you to understand when they're talking to you about the subdivision itself. If it's on detention or retention. Some retention ponds are not pretty. A lot of them are. So if they say, this is our neighborhood pond, our lake, probably a retention pond too. If you look around the edges of the lake, you see pipes going in. That's just coming from street water. Okay. Tell me the difference between a sewer line and a drainage line. This sounds silly. This sounds silly, but I want you to know because people constantly mix up the two. What? Poop. Poop. That's right. All right.
Sewer is the pooper.
Right. So here's the reason I bring this up. Because some people, typically not on-site agents, will be walking with their buyer down the street and say, oh, there's a sewer line right there. And it's a curb drain. Just carries water that goes from the street, from the rain, down into a pipe that goes down to a retention pond, a stream, a detention pond, etc. But people call it sewer all the time. Don't call it sewer. Sewer has poop.
There's a sanitary sewer.
Yes.
That is one thing. Isn't there another kind of sewer? Or is
Well,
sanitary sewer redundant?
Sanitary sewer is redundant, to my knowledge.
All right.
Septic is a kind of sewer, but it's
Yeah.
self-contained. Everybody know the difference between that? Sewer and septic? Anybody have a question about it? Nope. Listen, don't feel bad about asking me questions. In fact, let me just say this. If you have a question as I burn through this stuff in a few minutes, just holler it out. Okay? Because we're gonna fly through the rest of this. Okay. So no, we don't need to know that. All right. I can't spend time on some of these slides. All that was just a breakdown in what we used to call the percentages of completion. So tell me what that is. What? Who said that? Who said raw? Raw land. Raw land. Yes. Very good. Okay. That is a raw piece of dirt. That just means that dirt's been there undisturbed since God made it. Okay. Now, you can see here that this is in a developed subdivision right here. Okay. It's got sidewalks and curves and that kind of stuff, but that is a raw piece of dirt. Okay. What's that?
Graded dirt.
Yes. Oh, you guys don't need me up here. All right. So that's just a graded lot. That used to be raw dirt. Now it's a graded lot. Okay. And these were taken from a lot of different subdivisions. So bear with it. Okay. What are we doing here?
Preparing for construction.
Preparing the pad.
Yeah.
The pad. So when I say the pad, somebody give me, I know some of you guys know this stuff because you're already on top of it. What do I mean by preparing the pad? Laying, kinda, you're one step ahead of me.
Leveling.
Leveling. Thank you very much. So when you have a subdivision, if you had a perfectly flat piece of property and all the lots were graded and they were completely flat, could you put houses on that? These aren't trick questions. Yes, you could, but you've got to create.
Foundation.
So who said that? Drainage. You got to create drainage. The one thing that will mess you up the worst is water. How many times have you seen that? Well, you saw it just on a house you did for me recently.
Water is not your friend.
Water is not your friend. If the water doesn't drain away from the house, or there's any kind of breakages and seals or the envelope of the house, you can create some serious problems with the foundation and with leakage inside the walls. Okay, so this is just being prepared for the pad. So when I say the pad typically, if it's a flat piece of property like this, they will build it up slightly and then build on top of that. Okay, We're gonna see some of that in just a minute. Somebody tell me what we're looking at here. I'm gonna do this all day, so you guys better answer. What?
Like Mark lots.
What is it?
Mark lots.
Yeah, this is just my fun thing. It's a pipe farm.
It's a farm.
Okay, this is how they develop with a new subdivision. The first thing that goes in is the underground infrastructure. Okay, so if it's a sewer subdivision, aside from the sewer, what else is going in the ground?
Gas, water.
All the utilities, everything goes in the ground, and then they start this.
Oh,
Right here.
yep,
There it is.
there you go. It was on there.
On the wall.
It's all, oh. Okay, what's that? This is. Why is it not showing? It's going on your shirt.
The TV is just not. Fingers.
Okay, all right, so this,
Yes.
all right, so they take a large piece of property and they grade it. Now, if you're in a septic subdivision, a subdivision that takes septic does not have sewer, and a subdivision that has sewer, can somebody tell me the difference in the way it's graded? When I say graded, I mean removal of trees, preparing the ground, et cetera.
You need to have room for field lines and stuff like that, and
Sorry,
you need to have room for field lines and, for the septic.
yes, that's true. What were you saying?
You'd have to move more trees if they're septic because of the roots that could affect them.
Okay,
It would have to be graded because it's gonna run with gravity, and if it's septic, it's on your own lot, so it's gonna have to be ran to where it can run to a central.
okay, all of that is hitting around the target here. Do you know what mass grading means? If I have 50 acres and I'm putting a sewer subdivision in, typically they go in and they knock down every single tree, they mass grade the place, and they can make those lots the way they want them because they have sewer. Typically, sewered lots are bigger or smaller? Smaller. Because they have the ability to put smaller lots in, increase the yield for the builder, and they typically mass grade. That's what this is. I promise you, there were trees there before they got started. Now, in a septic subdivision, what you guys were saying is right. With septic, you're able to save more trees. Okay, and typically they want to do that for two reasons. One, it looks better, and two, it's less costly for them to grade. Because this is a super inexpensive way to grade. They just go in there, knock it all down, grade it out flat, put the lots in. It's simple, it's easy, it's fast, and less expensive. So when you have a septic subdivision, you'll typically see a lot more trees. And to your point, Thea, you do have to have a space for the septic tank itself, and then the field lines, which is overflow essentially from the septic system, because the septic stuff goes from your house to the tank, and then if there's overflow, goes into the field lines. For the most part, isn't it like twice, don't you have to have twice the amount of space for repair line?
Yes.
Okay, so if you've got a 4-bedroom house, typically got to have 400 feet plus 400 feet of field lines. And they do that serpentine. Has anybody seen a septic layout before? From a.
We have a septic, so yeah.
Okay, so every county, if you call the county, they will provide, if you're buying, okay, if your buyer is buying a septic, a house with a septic system, call the county and get the septic layout. They're usually very good about getting them to you and pretty quick. Forsyth County, super fast.
When that county are online.
Oh, they're online. Yes. So,
GIS.
okay, say that again.
It's on the GIS maps. You can download.
What that is, yeah,
When that's
all county
online.
you have to.
Yeah, Jackson County's not that good, and neither is
But
Forsyth.
they all will respond and they all send the stuff to you
Right.
within, well, Jackson County, Hall County, around here. I don't know about out there, but
Yeah, Jackson County's a little slower. Forsyth County is super fast. I mean, I get them in a couple days. That's really good information for your buyer to have. So they know where the septic tank is and where the field lines are. Because if they ever want to do any improvements in the backyard, they cannot build on any of that. Okay. So, all right, so I'm gonna run through a few of these things. This is done when they're grading lots to keep the dirt out of the street. One of the things that you'll hear about in new home subdivisions is, well, okay, this and this, you guys know what that is, right? Okay, they want to keep as much of the dirt out of the streets and streams as possible. The EPA and EPD are getting really tough on that stuff. So if you want to know why they have to stay so far off of a stream, it's because of clean water laws. Okay. So they do this in most subdivisions where a truck backs in and then they spray the wheels off before they get out into the street. Okay, tell me what this is.
A footing.
Yes, what?
Footing framework.
Yes. You'll hear it called a bunch of things, but footings. Okay, so to build a house or any building for that matter, that's going to be structurally sound, you need a solid foundation. You hear this all the time in every field of work. If you want to do well at something, create a good solid foundation. So you see this, where's this thing? It's right above my thing. You see the metal rebar? Okay. Those footings are dug around the perimeter of the house. Okay. The boards are called batter boards. That's what they pour the concrete in, and it forms that perfect square. And then, okay, this is another picture of the same thing. They pour the concrete down in these cavities, which creates the footing around the outside of the house. Okay. They also put in, you know what, you guys know what this is, plumbing lines. Okay. So when you're on a slab, a concrete slab, all your plumbing is going to be in the dirt and it's poking up out of the soil, hopefully measured properly so that they hit the right spots when they go in there to build walls and cabinets and stuff. So all of that is within, you can see the footing batter boards up here. So all of that's kind of prepared at the same time. That's like, we call that 10%. That's just another picture. This line here, anybody know the difference between this line and these lines?
Wider.
In, one's out. There you go. Yeah. One's supply. These are supply lines. Which one's this? Hot or cold? Hot, cold. That is the drain line.
Maybe it's hot.
Maybe it's hot, yeah. Sometimes they switch them. Okay, so some of the same things. Anybody ever see these in a house?
What is that?
It's a little spacer basically for a tub drain. Okay, so when you see those, this is all part of the installing plumbing in the below the slab in the dirt before the slab is poured. Okay, some more pictures. Tired of plumbing yet? Okay, more footings. Okay, this is how you prepare the slab and footings to be poured. So you see the rebar here going up, and then you see the wire here and the rebar in the slab itself. Okay, that's all done in preparation for the pour. The plastic is the only thing that's for is to keep moisture out of the concrete. Okay. Now, anybody tell me what this is in the middle there? This and this. What are those for?
It's so the concrete doesn't crack.
To help it not crack
To flex.
for settlement.
For settlement reasons.
Yes, to keep it from settling. You'll also see things like, okay, so this is what we were just looking at. This is with the poured wall. And then this is, again, these are girder trenches. And then you'll see things called piers. Ever seen a circular hole where they fill it with concrete right before they pour concrete? That's what that is. Okay. So all of that is done in preparation to pour concrete, to keep it from moving and to keep it from settling.
What
Okay,
did you call those trenches? Girders?
girder trenches.
Girder
What else are they
trenches.
called, dude? Does that sound right?
I've never
Rely-
heard that called that before. So I was wondering.
Yeah, so, and now, I'll mention this to you too. You see that these basement walls are poured. Okay, those basement walls are poured before the garage. So if somebody says your garage is cracked, it's a structural problem. Typically, it's not. Okay? The garage is a separate piece of concrete than the footings and the foundation walls. Okay, so typically that's not a big deal. Am I on target on that? But what's the difference? I mean, what's the point at which you worry? Is it the deflection of the concrete?
The width of the crack.
Width of the crack. Okay. So, but if you see a concrete crack, I remember reading one time in a construction book, how do you keep concrete from cracking? And it said, move to a different planet. Okay, concrete is gonna crack, typically. Now you can strengthen it, but these piers help, the girder trenches do. Okay, so here's another, so this is another picture of a foundation wall. If you ever watch them pour this, first they pour the footings, which you guys have seen. And on walls like this, there's usually a little indentation. And so when they pour the walls, you guys ever see those big trucks with all those metal plates and all that kind of stuff on there? They form these walls out of those metal plates. They literally build a wall with a cavity in it out of those metal plates. And then they pour the concrete down in the metal plates and then they vibrate it to try to make it settle in there. So when they do that, this wall, concrete fills in that little trench and it keeps it from moving laterally. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So this is all ready to pour. Okay, you see, that is your drain line that goes out to the street. This is your supply line. You can try to fix it. Oh. Joy would have done. All right, so again, this is another picture of similar, I don't know if it's the same house or not, but somebody tell me what these are. You see these up on the wall? Right here, up here?
Is it to release moisture?
No? Somebody said it over here. Hurricane straps.
Hurricane straps?
Hurricane straps, that's what they're called.
Whether there's a hurricane or not, it doesn't matter, they just call it.
The what?
I said whether there's a hurricane or not, they just call it
Yeah, well, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the hurricane that came on shore in Miami, what, 20 years ago or something like that? Some of you guys don't remember this stuff because you weren't that old. Well, I think it was Andrew. It wiped out Homestead, Florida. Wiped it out. I mean, cleaned it just, it's just like taking a hand and knocking blocks off of a table. Because they didn't have hurricane straps. So hurricane straps became code in most places. So what they do is when you start framing your house, you put what you call right down here a sill plate. That's the bottom plate. It's got to be pressure treated because it's sitting on concrete. And then they fold these over and nail it down. So you might lose part of your house, but typically these are going to keep your house from blowing away. Okay, this is another example of, well, this is an example, kind of it's a little out of order, but does anybody know what this is called when you have this corrugated tube in here with fabric over top of it? French strain. That's done to keep pressure off of a wall. Hydraulic pressure, remember I told you about water not being your friend? If you get a lot of water down behind a wall and you don't have a way for it to release, you're building up massive pressure behind that wall. This is just a good example of doing it in a landscape scenario, but you also have to have these on these walls. And I don't think I've got a picture of that. But down at the bottom, on the outside of these walls, you'll see that before they pour, they'll be laying in, drain tiles is what they call it. It's a pipe and it's got fabric wrapped around it. And then on top of that, they'll lay gravel, okay? The reason they do that is because they want the water to be able to get down to that point, because it's always going to seek its lowest level. And then be able to easily be released. Because if you don't have some kind of way for the water to release, it's just going to build up pressure. That's when you start seeing foundation cracks, wall cracks, and that kind of thing. So that's just an easy way for you to understand it.
Do you know when that became code?
So,
Along the wall.
as long as I've been doing this, it's been code. I mean, I remember them pouring or putting French drains in 1990. So it's been around a long time. Okay, there's your drain line and supply line. Now, you see where this is right here, all this dark concrete. It's because when the wall is poured, they have a spacer in there so they can put those lines in. Don't let people freak out about that. That's just the way it's done, because you can't specifically have the exact right size hole to put that drain line and supply line in. You have to allow space for that to be put in later, and then they put hydraulic cement in there to seal it. Okay. Which also brings me to this. When you go into a basement and you see dirt that's just kind of falling down the wall, is that a real concern? No, it's just dirt. It's just because they poured the wall, they backfilled it, and when it rained, the dirt kind of came over the wall and just made the wall ugly. Okay. But you see, when they put these things in, they don't have the right size holes in there, so they have to seal it. Okay, so sometimes it's hydraulic cement. I'm not sure what that material is, but that's your drain line again, and this is a supply line as it's being connected. Okay, now here is all right. Tell me what a monolithic slab is. Use your Latin.
One piece. One piece.
One piece. So we saw the footings, right? And on the edge of this, that's where your batter boards were. So they pour the footings and the slab at the same time. That's called a monolithic slab. Okay. It just means it's all just one big piece. And the reason they do it that way is so it doesn't move. Ryan, do you remember the one that I don't remember who we looked at, that had poured the concrete right on the dirt? You remember that house?
Eileen.
Oh, Eileen Hill had one. Yeah. So if I remember this correctly, somebody did an improvement and literally poured the concrete right on top of the dirt with no footings at all. And I think that was the structural problem, is the thing was moving. So you can't do that. Am I right? Am I remembering that right? Okay.
Yeah, they dug it out.
Yeah, that's right. She called me and then I said, call Ryan, or maybe you had discovered it. All right, so this is a finished slab. Now, one thing I can tell you is if you have a buyer and they're buying a build job and they get to this point, 70% of the time they'll walk out there and go, God, they've got the wrong house on my lot. It's not possibly big enough. There's no way that's big enough. They always did that. I used to just take the plan out. I'd hand them the plan and say, what's the measurement? And then I'd run a tape. They go, oh yeah, it is. What's the tape? What's the measurement this way? At this stage, this house looks dinky. Okay. If it's 3,000 square feet, I promise you, I mean, every now and then they screw it up big time. But at this point, it never looks big enough. Okay. So you can see all the plumbing lines. This has all been pulled from the edge of the house using the floor plans. They know how far in to put these plumbing lines. So this is going to be your kitchen, bathroom. That's probably your water heater up front. And this is just more of the same. Hurricane straps. You know what that is? Okay, this is garage and house. And why is there a curb?
You know, water going into the house.
Remember, your friend is not water. So whenever you see that in a garage, it's to try to keep, usually that's because there's gonna be some kind of a water heater or something like that. So you want to keep the water out of the house. If it leaks or something like that, you want it to just stay in the garage. Okay, so now we get into framing. Everybody knows what framing a house looks like. I'm gonna see if I've got a picture. I don't think I took a picture of the bottom plate. So when they start framing, everything that's on the bottom here will be laid on the edge of the perimeter of the house. It has to be pressure treated wood because that's your bottom plate. Okay. Now, as the framing takes place, obviously they're using the measurements and forming the rooms and you know what this wood is called? No. What?
Pressure treated?
No.
OSB.
Oh, yes, there you go. OSB. Okay, now OSB and plywood are similar, but OSB is made a different way and it's a lot cheaper. In fact, none of it's cheap anymore, but plywood is literally sheets of wood put together and compressed, and it's solid wood. This OSB means oriented strand board. So the way they make that is they take chips in the plant and they basically mix glue with chips and then they vibrate it. And the reason they call it oriented strand board is because the strands kind of orient themselves and it creates a little bit of what they call tensile strength. So it has a little bit more little strength. It's not as strong as plywood, but this is what they use on the outsides, roof decking, flooring, that kind of thing. Okay, so what's that? Truss. Okay, so everybody know what a truss is? Come on. Okay, truss is for your roof. What about that metal piece? I'm just giving you some vocabulary here. What?
Wipe your cleats off them.
It's actually called a cleat.
Oh, it is.
Or a gusset plate or a staple. But these trusses, you ever see a truck coming up the street here from Truss Tech down the street? That's where they make this stuff. There's a whole bunch of Truss Tech places. But they make these trusses down the street at Truss Tech. And this has become the most common way of building roof systems. So you can kind of see how they line these things up. This is a floor. Oh no, that is a roof system. So, and then they frame to that. They're supposed to be a lot more structurally sound. I think you have lots of people who would argue the point. Okay, so what is this? It's called something. What?
Floor joist?
It is a floor joist, absolutely. But what's that type of floor joist called? Engineered. It's also called engineered. It's an I-beam floor. Okay, it's an engineered I-beam floor joist. Okay.
So why would you use, I mean, what's the difference? Is there another comparison?
Well, okay, so again, here's an argument that people will have with you. So you can do it this way, which in my opinion is the most structurally solid, gives you the most tensile strength, so it's more firm. Or you can do it, let's see if I've got one here. Okay, so you see how this is, I call it a web truss. I'm not really sure what it's technically called, but this is the one you saw a minute ago where it had the gusset plate and the staple on it. That's another way to do it. And I have been told, and I tend to agree, that that's not quite as strong on tensile strength. It moves a little bit more.
I have a question. So if you go, I've seen new construction homes, this has been several years ago, but where the floors will sag for lack of support, is that because they were spaced improperly?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, codes are going to require a certain number of inches.
Right.
I mean, you can't exceed a certain number of inches between trusses or the framing members of the exterior of the house.
Mhm.
So they call that being on center. So do you know what the kind of most current, is it 24 inches on center for floors?
16, isn't it?
18 is what I thought it was.
Could be 12. I don't know. I think floor joists, I don't know. Okay, we're not gonna talk about codes. It's gonna be different. I think they're around between 16 and 24 for floor joists. And that also has to do a lot with the calculated load. So if you have a lot of walls up there, they may require you to be a little bit closer. But this is the two most common, currently the most common ways of doing floor joists. You have these web trusses, and then you have the I-beams.
So it depends on what code. Is that what you're saying?
Not really. Builders can use whichever one they want to. But the code is based on how many inches you have to have them, you know, you can't exceed a certain number of inches. That's more what the code is.
What's more desirable?
Or the type of joist, I like I-beams.
Is that something you can actually like put in a new construction
No.
contract? Okay.
No, it would be very surprising to me if a builder said, I build with I-beams, and you say, I want web trusses, and you'll say, oh, okay, no problem. Because most builders have these things priced out. They already know what their cost is gonna be. They've got their package put together. If they build with web trusses, they're probably gonna keep building with web trusses. If they have I-beams, they're gonna use I-beams. Okay? Now, this metal bracket right here is a new, I know this is new code. What are those called?
Joist hanger.
Yes. So a joist hanger, you will see these. This is the most secure way of taking one piece of wood and putting it up against another one so that it doesn't move. You'll also see those on decks. A lot of times you'll see an inspection, and the inspection will say, well, let's say the house was built in 1980. Joist hangers were not code back then. Okay, so it may be just toe nailed in. What's another way of fixing those, Ryan? I know you guys see that. What's that? Ledger boards. Thank you. Where there's a thin, it's a 1x board that goes all the way across here, and it will sit on that board. Okay, that's not as secure. The floor or the joist hanger is a much more secure way. In fact, this I-beam right here is a very, very heavy piece of wood. And it goes across here because that's load bearing. And you can see they've got a big floor or a, keep calling it floor joist. They've got a big joist hanger on that. Okay. So you will see joist hangers in new construction a lot. And on decks, you should see it. Okay, so what's this right here? This
Header.
piece. What?
Header?
Yes. Does anybody know why you put headers in houses, on windows, around doors, garage doors, that kind of thing?
Structure.
Load
bearing structure.
Yes, what?
Load bearing structural to give it more integrity.
That's all true. Where will you see them? I'm looking for one particular thing. At an opening. Windows, doors, garage doors. You got a large open space upstairs, like a big bathroom window or something like that. They're all going to have headers because that's kind of like, that's an LVL or I-beam, or not I-beam, glued lamb beam. That's what these are. Those are the big heavy ones. That's glue lamb beam light. Okay, it's just there to support the structural weight above that opening. Okay, same thing in windows, etc. This stud right here is different from that stud and that stud and that stud and that stud. Does anybody know why?
The jack stud one's a king stud.
There you go.
Say that
It's a
again?
jack stud.
Jack stud and a king stud.
What you'll see now, you can put this header in here, but if you don't put a jack stud in to hold that header up, you don't have any structural support really. So the jack stud is anytime you see an opening where you've got a header, there will be vertical studs that hold all of this up. Sometimes it's doubled or tripled, depending on the amount of weight. Okay, here's another example of a glue lamb beam. huge pieces of wood that are put together. Sometimes you'll see several of them that are combined, and that is for anything where there's extreme weight, vertical weight.
What's a king stud?
I don't know, I've never heard of it.
King stud is this, go back to the door picture, so that the jack stud is just what he said, that's the one that's holding up the beam. The king stud is the one next to it that goes all the way top to bottom.
Of the,
I've never heard that before. See, I told you I was gonna learn something today.
Glad I asked questions.
I've learned like 9 things I've written down, so I feel good.
Okay. All right, so now, look. I've been around this a long time, so this has really become kind of common sense to me. But if you have never been around construction, it's not common sense. It helps to know the verbiage, it helps to know what to look for. There's your man, that's a resource right there, Ryan, he can help you with that kind of stuff in new home construction. This has become a thing, guys. New home construction is gonna supply, I think it's something like 45% of our inventory right now. That's an amazing number. I've never seen it that high. So we're gonna see a lot of new construction. It will help you a lot to have some understanding of how this goes. Okay. All right, so there's your beam. Now you see underneath this beam, this is a double. I can see the seam right here, but you see how this has these jack studs? When you have a beam that big, you're gonna see 4 or 5 studs nailed together that are jack studs underneath that beam. And then see all of this is probably an open area into a family room or a foyer. And all this weight is being put on this beam right here. Okay, so this is close to being dried in. So this is a house where dried in means you got windows, siding, etc. on the house. It's not completely sealed, but when it rains, you don't get wet. Okay, that's dried in. Okay, any questions on any of this stuff? You see the decking board on the roof? This is all OSB, all this stuff is OSB. Okay, let's go back.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know that with some buyers, like if there's been really bad weather, we've had a lot of rain. And it is not dried out yet and inside the home is wet, like the wood has gotten wet and it's non-treated wood. How do you handle those clients to make them feel like it's not gonna be a problem down the road? Because it has happened.
Yeah, that's not an easy one.
Okay.
Because most builders are not gonna take that stuff out.
Okay.
Most builders are gonna say, it'll dry. You know, now, I mean, do you run into that a bunch with like,
Every now and then,
yeah,
yeah.
so,
And
I
if it
mean-
gets really wet and then they dry it in, then you got trapped moisture, that's the big reason.
right. So that's a tough one because, you know, for a long time, like, we'll go back here, see, this is all just sitting out on the lot.
Right. Well, I know some people that are building, like, I mean, I know when we built one of our houses, we went out there every evening after work.
Right.
We wanted to see the
Oh,
whole
you were
place.
one of those?
Yes, you better believe it.
Okay.
I was one of those, still am. And, but just, you know, I know it didn't happen to us, but it happened to our neighbor's home where we had horrible weather and there was standing water on the plywood flooring in the home and they started to like do all the other stuff and they were like losing their mind because
Yeah.
they were like, don't.
You know what most builders do with that? They go into the
Dehumidifier.
drill and go, drill a
Let it
hole in the
drain.
floor and just let it drain. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, every now and then you'll get a builder that goes, yeah, that's too wet, we're gonna replace it, but that's rare.
Okay,
I mean, it's
just
pretty rare.
curious.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't hurt to ask the question.
Yeah, I mean,
What
at
did
some
they
point,
do?
somebody is gonna come across it. They made him replace the flooring.
So they did replace, now was it the subfloor or the flooring itself?
It was whatever the wood,
OSB?
yes,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
it had standing water in it.
That's a tough one. I mean, it's.
Well, it had been sitting, it started to sag.
Yeah,
And
now it
so,
starts to sag, that's a
yeah,
problem.
they made it
for sure.
change it.
Because OSB will sag faster than
Plywood.
plywood, yeah. All right, and we're like, I'm gonna just fly through this next stuff.
Go.
All right, so when you put brick on a house, you have to have a brick ledge. Tell me why. Wait, if you put brick on a house and you don't have a brick ledge attached, poured at the same time as the footing, okay? You cannot pour this later. So you can't pour that footing and then pour this later, because all it's gonna do is sink. This is poured at the same time the footing is poured, and then the brick is applied to the house, and it carries that vertical weight.
Same thing with stone? If you have a stone siding?
Depends.
Okay.
Like if it's, when you say, if it's real stone, yes. If it's what we call lick and stick, where it's just, take a thing and put a little mortar on the house and go, no, you don't have to have that.
Lick and
But
stick,
if-
no lead.
That's what we call it, yeah.
Engineered stone?
Yeah, engineered stone is just really kind of fake stone. It just made it look like it's not as heavy, and it usually just adheres to the walls. The same thing with a brick veneer. If you're not doing real brick, a lot of times you won't have a brick ledge, because that's just kind of lick and stick brick. Okay?
Does that apply if it's like a full brick or like if the bricks are cut in half?
All right, hold on. What?
Does that still apply if it's like half of a brick? You know how is that the veneer? That's the fake one? Does that make sense?
No, oh, you mean,
Like if they cut the brick in
Yeah,
half,
this
but
way,
it's a
yeah.
real brick.
it's different products. If it's a veneer and it's really not a heavy brick, they're not gonna have a brick ledge problem. But if it's real brick, even if it's a half brick, they should have a brick ledge. What were you gonna say?
Well, I've called that kind of construction brick veneer.
Well,
It's not a structural brick wall. In other words, 12 inches thick or whatever. I've seen houses built like that.
now you're talking about where you've got a guy with a scaffold and he's putting the mortar down and he's putting those things in there and tapping them in.
Yeah. I mean, that's brick veneer and it's put up the same
Well,
way.
when you say brick veneer, if you're just saying veneer that's the outside of the house, then you can call that brick veneer. It's like, some people say this is the elevation of the house, and some people say that's the front of the house. That's the way it looks.
Okay.
But if it's real brick like that, it's gotta have a brick ledge.
Yeah.
It will absolutely positively fail.
You see, I've got a stucco front
Yes.
on part of my house. It's part of it's stacked stone. But it's real stucco. It's not fake. Will you see a brick ledge underneath the stucco?
Typically not,
Okay.
because that's applied to the house a totally different way. That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Stucco is a whole different thing. That's usually troweled on or sprayed on. And that's applied with a mesh and a backing to it, but there's no real vertical weight there. Okay, so this, can't really tell it here, but this stone right here. And I thought I had another one.
Was that a piece of string hanging out from it? On the corner?
This,
Yes.
probably,
What is that?
somebody left it there. I mean, that's probably what it is. It's probably somebody, they may have been pulling a string and they just left it there. I don't know any reason why that would be there, except there is what you said a little while ago, drainage. That may be, have you seen that before as a drain hole? Okay, so maybe that's what that is. A weep hole. So when you see a brick front on a house, you'll see these little plastic tubes down at the bottom or maybe part way up the wall. That's called a weep hole. That's to allow moisture to get outside that wall. Because if you trap moisture inside a wall, you got problems. That's one of the reasons that stucco got such a bad name. Because when they did it wrong, it trapped moisture inside the walls and it rotted the framing and everything else inside. You just did one of those moisture things for those folks over in Beaufort, didn't you? The shooties? The guy with the super mullet? Okay. Anyway, that's. You guys got the best mullet I've ever seen in my life. So this piece right here, you will see it metal. If you're over a garage and you see a piece of metal that runs across, a lot of times it's rusty. It's called a brick lentil, or it's kind of the same purpose as a brick ledge. It holds the brick structure above that door. Okay.
Does it have jacks to support them on both sides? Is it put in the same
Yeah.
way? Okay.
I thought I had a couple pictures. I think Derek sent the wrong thing. He did. All right. Well, that's okay. I shouldn't have said that. There's a very nice boy.
It's not 5.
No, well, I didn't want to dog him out, you know, I mean. So a lot of times you'll see another garage door, it'll be it's called angle iron. You'll see angle iron above a garage door, and you'll also see it above windows sometimes. It's basically just there to hold the vertical weight for the brick. Now I'm gonna fly through this part. Okay, there's electrical. There's some more electrical and plumbing. There's plumbing. HVAC. Okay, I love this one. Tell me the difference between this and that. Yes, blowers and suckers. That's what they are. That's a blower, that's a sucker. So what you're trying to do is exchange the air in the house, circulate the air. So you have to have some suckers to bring it in, and you have the blower to blow it back out. Okay, you'll never forget that one. Okay, fireplace with a header, all this stuff right here. What's that?
Fireproofing.
It's fireproof.
Yeah.
It's sealant. It's to seal gaps around the house. Now, you'll see it here, here, anywhere where there is a hole that penetrates the outside of the house, you have to have that sealant in there. It's basically, you know what great stuff is? Get it at Home Depot.
Spray can.
Spray can, and you put a dollop in your hand and it blows up to about that big. That's kind of what that is. Okay, sheetrock preparation. Okay, insulation. Now,
Maybe interject about like pre-drywall inspections and.
that is the time to do an inspection in new construction. That is a very good point. The best time is pre-drywall after insulation, because you not only have the insulation in there, but you have all of your plumbing lines, your electrical lines. You may have to move things around a little bit, but that's when you can really tell stuff about a house in new construction. Once you get the sheetrock on, it becomes a cosmetic inspection.
What if the builder won't let you in before drywall?
Well, then he's
It's your own
not a
building.
nice man.
Like it's in their contract, like.
Century Homes,
I didn't wanna,
Chafin?
I didn't wanna like put them under the bus, but it's neither of those two.
Okay, so I had that experience with Century. And Century told me that I could not be at the inspection, at the walkthrough. And I said, I won't say what I said.
Yeah, I've had that.
I said BS
Right.
longer. Because I represent these clients.
Right.
I'm not gonna come in here and pick your house apart. But to me, that is a really bad policy for a builder to have. Now, whether you can get around it or not, I don't know. But you're representing that client.
I would show up.
I would show up
If they let you
too.
in and sit in your car, I would show up.
Yeah,
Like they
I mean,
won't let them inspect the house prior to drywall.
It's their money.
I know that, but.
do you mind?
I would
Yes, I'm
say-
interested.
Reliant.
Oh. Okay. So Reliant typically builds not in the high end.
Right. They're like,
And they are a very much a tract builder. I did not know that that was their policy.
in their
Let
contract.
me just say this to you guys. This is where we have leverage, okay? As resale agents, as buyer representatives, we have leverage. We need to let companies like Reliant and Century and Chafin, that shocks me about Chafin. I know all those guys. It just shocks me that they won't let you there. The reason that it happens is because resale agents come in and show their butts. And they say, well, you gotta fix this, and you gotta fix this, and you gotta fix this, and you gotta fix this, even if it's within tolerance. Like, here's one thing that it just blows me away when I see it. An agent will come in with a flashlight and shine it down a wall to see if the sheetrock is flat. That is a absolute no-no, okay? No sheetrock is ever gonna be completely flat. The rule of thumb for a builder is if you stand 6 feet away from it and you don't see it, it's acceptable, okay? Now, obviously, if there's a hole or a really crappy tape joint or something like that, that's different. But, you know, walking in and expecting a house that's built by hand by about 30 or 40 different subs to be completely 90 degrees, perfect walls, perfect framing, that's not realistic either. Okay, but I you know, that one killed me. And I'm like Jerry, I would check him up. You know,
I had one of them tell me I wasn't welcome and I said, that's too bad, I'll be here.
yeah. Well, with Century, I went and I talked to the superintendent and I just said, look, I know new construction. I'm not here to make your job harder, but I'm going to be with these clients because this is a first time home buyer. I'm not gonna let him walk through this house and be, you know, run over. So I'm not here to make your life hard. We ended up getting along great.
Yeah.
But that's a really bad policy for a builder.
builder's mouth, like when we had orientation. From his mouth.
So,
I had a similar experience, them telling me I couldn't be there, and I pushed it, like what Jerry's saying, and when I got there, the guy's like, that's fine, let me just share why, and he's like, he had just had a previous experience with
just
an
like what I'm
agent,
talking about, yeah.
an agent showing off, like in a bad way,
So-
so.
A lot of times when I've seen this, I've been on both sides of this, so I kind of know the tolerances that are acceptable in new construction, so I don't overstep that. But I have seen agents, they'll come in with their own tape. And they go,
Oh, that's.
and it's just like, no, we had an agent, this actually happened. We had an agent come in with a ballpoint pen and circle stuff. Like 60 ballpoint pen circles. Guys, guess who got to repaint that wall? The agent.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't come out. If you want to do something like that, take a nickel and circle it, because you can cover that. But that's the reason, is because agents come in and show their butts and try to prove their worth when they don't really know the tolerances. And so it creates animosity between the builder and the agent. Let me just tell you this. Even if you work for a builder, as an agent, you are just a necessary evil. Okay, it's cats and dogs. And they're the dogs. Well, unless you like cats, then they're the cats. Okay, so sheetrock being hung, this is nailed up. We're gonna fly through this. Okay, let me just show you this. Anybody know what this green stuff is on the studs?
Mold or something.
It's like the spray they spray so you don't get mold, or like wet treated or something.
Treated
It's treated.
moisture or water.
Termites.
Termites.
Ah,
This is called Boracare. It's become a new thing. This treatment permeates the wood and termites don't like it. Okay? Drain lines, these are siphon lines. So, you know, everybody's got a vent through their ceiling for their drain lines, right? Do you know why that is? Like your drain lines for your septic system and your sewer, they also have pipes that go through the roof and they're open.
yes.
Gravity,
Super gas,
pressure.
Sewer gas and siphoning. If you did not have that and you flushed your toilet, it would go down a certain distance and then it would just like stop, because it doesn't have any, it's like taking a straw, putting it down into a glass and putting your finger over the top and pulling it out. That water is going to stay there. When you let it go and it's got air to go down in there, it drains out. Same thing with these drain lines. So when you see the pipes on the top of the roof, the vent pipes, they have to be there. Now they can make it prettier than they do a lot of times. That's a corner bead. Anybody know what that means? When two pieces of sheetrock come together in a corner, it's never pretty. So they put these corner beads on the corner and nail them on. So a lot of times when you see sheetrock beginning to crack a little bit, it's on these corner beads. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. It's not a structural thing. It's just a crack in the sheetrock on the corner bead. Same thing with tape joints. Sometimes you'll see these joints. They have sheetrock mud, then tape, then sheetrock mud. And if they come loose, you'll see little wrinkles or cracks in the tape joints. Okay, there's some pretty sheetrock. Okay. There's a light fixture.
Mhm.
Bless you.
That's you.
Okay, this is when you start to get to the finish. Okay, cabinets always have to be measured, leveled, etc. Put in after your rough electrical. See, now we're starting to get to the trim stage. Paint's done. Who are the last two guys that are gonna be in the house almost every time? Paint, well, paint, flooring, and sheet rock. Those are the guys that are gonna be in the house last. Okay, utilities, this is where they put them in the ground and run them to the house. We're way over time right now. Okay, so let me just say this. I'll just let you know that if you have questions about new construction, I'm available to you. If it has to do with codes or structure or something like that, probably gonna tell you to call Ryan. Also, something that a lot of people really liked, and we may do this again at another time.
Yeah.
Is a plat reading class. You know what I mean by like okay. So a lot of people really like that. I think they liked it more than I thought they would. But learning how to read a plat when you go on site is invaluable because you have credibility with that on-site agent. So we'll do that another time.
So
Okay.
while I'm doing this, first of all, any questions? And then second of all, is there anything that you feel like in today's market with, because new construction is, like, what are the biggest issues that you're currently seeing for people that are like new agents in here or that have not done new construction that would help them?
I mean, honestly, I would say learn how to work with the agent on site. Because they are the ones that are gonna talk to your buyers way more than you're gonna talk to them. They're gonna sort of guide the process. So if you've got somebody that's worth their salt, they'll respect you and you can respect them. When you get the one that's gonna try to run over you, you have to stand your ground. But,
I treat it, I mean, when I go in as a buyer's agent in new construction, my job is different.
yes.
I'm not gonna negotiate, I'm not gonna get the price down, I'm not gonna get free garage door openers or whatever.
Especially now.
My job is to make sure that the agent does what he says he will do.
Yes.
And I make sure to write it down and, just hold them accountable.
Communication is really big, okay? Being able to communicate with that person and make sure things are going as it, visit the site, go there, okay? Don't just be absent, don't go in, sign the contract and then come to closing.
Yeah.
That's what
This
they
is
don't
real
want.
estate. It is the relationship business. Create relationships.
Right,
One of the big things is when you're going through the features, the colors, like the color of the exterior and that kind of stuff. Make sure that is the right color and the right scheme that you're sitting there, because I've had that happen before.
absolutely. That's a very common thing. Get copies of everything your buyer gets copies of, and anything your buyer signs, get a copy of that too. And know that the reason that they do stuff like what you're talking about with you can't come here for the walkthrough is because they know right now they own the market. And it's a
They're in
really
control.
crappy attitude. And that will turn when it becomes a buyer's market.
Matters who you do business with.
Right.
1-888-525. That's me. Get our contractors back. All right.
All right, holler if you guys need anything.
Thank you, Bob. And Bob's gonna do some more stuff as we move on, because now with new construction, it's so prevalent right now. Anyway, go enjoy lunch, go eat, everybody's starving. So thank you for staying. There's just so much information. So y'all have an amazing day.
I'm trying to think of.
All right, let's take money.
Meeting. Oh, no, I did.